Hello, welcome to the Medical Maze. I'm your host, Donnellen Ray, and today we just want to briefly talk about autism awareness. But first, let's say hello to my co-host, Phil.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Donnellen, how you doing today?
Hey.
So, as the month of April kind of wraps up, we did want to bring, into light, autism awareness and acceptance because April is the designated month for that. And we all know, if you are familiar with the show, that my son has severe autism. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I think it's a great cause, and the more people that are aware and the / acceptance, which I think there's a slight distinction there, and I think it's worth mentioning, but let's go and let's increase the awareness and let's give a resource for folks to go to. Phil, what's it been like for you, and how's Dominic doing?
Well, not everything is all roses,
Right.
This part of the year has been difficult for us. Dominic was recently discharged from his school
Oh,
and his ABA services due to his behavior, really. I wouldn't even say that. It's just that they can't really accommodate him for what he really needs. And it's a little disheartening because he was with this school for a number of years.
wow.
And everything was fine, really. Just his behavior was getting slightly elevated, and he would be a little destructive to property, and he would be hitting himself. And the school was just kind of in a way to protect themselves, say, hey, we have to release Dominic from our care. So right now it's kind of a rat race trying to find schools for him, especially schools that can accommodate for him, because my son is a large kid. He's 11. He's almost 5'10" now. So he'll be 12 this year. And he's 200 pounds. So he's a big kid, and he's nonverbal. If you guys didn't know, he's nonverbal. He's self-injures, property destruction, tantrums.
Wow.
And it's not just a discipline thing. So for those of you watching, it says, "Oh, he just needs more discipline." It's not that.
Right. Isn't that why they call it a spectrum? I mean, there's levels on this spectrum, right?
And that's why I really do want to bring this up, because April is the month of autism awareness, and so that's the part where people need to be aware of that autism is a spectrum, and not just really what you see on TV or what you heard about. Oh, this kid is quirky.
Right. Right. Very individual.
Yeah. So I'm in a very, very quiet minority when it comes to autism parents, because we don't like to get judged.
Oh gosh,
right?
really?
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of judgment are you getting for you have a child that's born with a condition? What kind of judgment are you getting?
So this is just me. So if
Okay.
you have your own experience, that's fine. But this is my own experience, and my wife's experience, is that our biggest criticisms come from the autistic community.
Oh, wow.
And it's those parents who don't have a child like Dominic, because the autism spectrum is a very, very large spectrum. I think 1 in 36 or 1 in 38 children have ASD.
Wow.
So with Dominic being on the very severe side, he's on a very lower part of the spectrum. So not many kids have what he has. So the vast majority of parents who have children with autism, they just see it on what they experience. So
yeah, right, and that's where their judgment is from what they've experienced. Yeah, that's and not very encompassing, is it?
Yeah, so it keeps us quiet, because people who don't know are always going to judge anyway, just because they don't know.
Yeah.
And then it hurts even more when you see people that should be allies with you, don't kind of give you that grace.
Yeah.
And that's very, very disheartening. So you feel isolated, and this is where the acceptance part comes in.
Yeah.
Because we want people to accept that every child is different, every person is different. If you see someone that's very low on the spectrum, don't judge, don't stare,
Right.
A lot of parents, we're used to that anyway.
Yeah.
But still, if you happen to see something happening like that, don't just stare or think that the child is being rude, because they're not listening to their parent or anything like that. Early in the season that we had, I told you guys about the story I had with the police, to where I had to go. I was at Publix, and my son was acting wild, and I had to pull him aside and say, hey, don't kill my son.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. What a thing to have to do as a parent.
Yeah, it's extremely sad.
That your mind had to go there, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, and my child being 10, 11 at the time, that shouldn't even be on our mind.
I know. It really shouldn't.
But, what comes to mind is this, and this is what gives us a fear of being in public, because not everybody knows. They don't know what the heck is happening. They just see a large person attacking another person.
Mm-hmm.
And so then their natural instinct would be to call the police, which is their right to do, because they do people need to be protected. And so, I do eventually want the police and sheriffs and all those law enforcement agencies to be able to recognize that. And I honestly, Donnell, I don't even think they should even be called. I love the police. I respect everything they do, but this is something that they shouldn't have to handle. They have to train to do so many other things. I don't think mental health and mental health and stuff like that, that shouldn't be an avenue they should even be in.
Right.
They have to deal with crime. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have to deal with way, way worse stuff. I don't think they should have to deal with that. I think there should be agencies and people that can come just for that. And I
was just thinking that. Well, can't they have like a psychologist or psychiatrist come to those sorts of calls? I mean, you would think maybe
they do, but there's so very, very little people with that knowledge, and people don't know a phone number to call like that. They're just going to call 911.
Sure.
So the first thing they're going to do is call the police, and the police get dispatched. So there has to be ways where those agencies can connect with each other, because, and granted, sometimes the police may need to be called.
Yeah.
Especially if somebody's getting hurt, or, someone's going to hurt themselves. But if the mental health agencies or autism agencies can help and assist in that way, they at least know how to approach a situation like that, to where, the child doesn't get hurt, or the adult doesn't get hurt, or so no one gets hurt.
Yeah. See, I can't imagine that kind of fear as a parent. Just like you were at the grocery store or something. I mean, can you have to worry about that to go to the grocery store with your, what was he, 12-year-old?
He's 11. 11? He's 11, yeah. He's 11. And I think he was 10 at the time. It was last year.
Oh, my gosh.
But yeah, and that keeps us, scared to really go anywhere, go to the park. And plus, he also elopes, so he runs away.
Oh, gosh.
And he doesn't really have a sense of danger, so he doesn't know that the street is bad.
Yeah, right.
Even though we tell him these things,
right?
We don't really know what actually registers,
right?
So it's a very difficult and painful,
Yeah, and he's like you said, non-communicative. So he can't tell, and he can't tell them. He can't tell you or your wife when you're out what's set him off, or what's happening with him. And I can only imagine. And then of course what the police are called, like you said, they're calling because we have a man here is throwing a fit, because he's a bigger child, and he's tearing up things, he's property whatever. Then it's not, oh gee, we have an autistic person here who is having a meltdown, right?
They don't know. They're just going to respond to what they're trying to do.
Yeah, sure.
And my son Dominic, he doesn't know how to comply.
Right.
If someone with authority comes at him, he doesn't know what that means. And it's not a discipline thing. So for those watching and judging now, it's not a discipline thing.
Right.
He doesn't understand. And I fear that he will never understand, and that also is a scary thing, because I do want him to be able to grow up and have a life fulfilled.
Sure.
Be able to be independent, but
sure.
Honestly, he's most likely not going to ever be independent. He's going to be dependent on mom and dad or whoever is going to be able to take care of him for the rest of his life. Which is disheartening.
Yeah.
But it's a part of autism, and I do want people who don't know about autism but know about autism to understand that this is also a part of the spectrum.
Right. Because I think maybe the majority of people know this, the in the middle kind of thing, right? The larger percentage of what are they, mild to moderate symptoms? I'm not sure. I don't know. But
I feel like there's a green version
of
autism that's digestible for the media.
Yeah.
And when you hear about someone with autism, you automatically think, oh, they are really smart at something, or they just are different. And when I tell people, oh, he's nonverbal, they're like, oh, what? They don't even associate that with being autistic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and for those parents who have children on that end of the spectrum, the higher functioning, don't judge. Don't put your experiences on those other parents, because your experiences are completely different. Even though our children share autism spectrum disorder, remember, it is a spectrum. So you have to look at it with some empathy and say, our child is not experiencing what your child is experiencing.
Right.
So give us that grace. Definitely give us that grace. And it's extremely, extremely important to have empathy. I really just my message is to have empathy and acceptance,
Which is perfect for this month of April.
Yeah.
Awareness every month, honestly. But if we can put a special focus on it for April as Autism Awareness / acceptance, then let's do that and hope that folks, you can go to autismspeaks.org.
Correct. That's one of the main websites that I deal with here in Orlando area. They have a chapter here.
Oh, good.
And Nathaniel's Hope is a big one.
Okay.
I think that's a national brand.
Okay.
That they deal with kids on the spectrum like that, who are on the lower end. And if you're a parent who maybe a child may be experiencing some things out of the ordinary, be diligent. Honestly, because you're going to hear a lot of no's. You may get some misdiagnosis, Don't just take one diagnosis and then be like, that's it. Get another point of view. Make sure you see a developmental doctor, because your pediatrician isn't trained for that.
Right.
Your psychiatrist isn't trained for that. Your neurologist isn't trained for that. Make sure you get a developmental doctor that specializes in the autism spectrum. If you're looking for a school, make sure you deal with a school that deals with kids who have autism. You don't want large class sizes, especially if you're dealing with a charter school. There are grants out there that will help you pay for those charter/private schools, so you can get them out of public school. Public school is great for what it is, but kids who need that type of attention, like my son, he would not be able to survive in a public school.
Oh no, I don't think
absolutely no way he would.
That's it's not an environment for him.
So my advice is to definitely be diligent, not give up, do your research, and make sure you find those appropriate physicians that are specifically trained for developmental cases when it comes to children on the spectrum, especially if your child is on the lower end of the spectrum. And don't be in denial. I'm going to talk to my people here at Ellen. Okay.
Okay.
So
absolutely.
Let me talk to my brothers and sisters out there, if you know what I mean. We grew up in denial of a lot of things, especially if you grew up in the church, right? I'm not going to be religious or anything like that and saying like that, but just be diligent. And if you see symptoms, get help. Don't just pray it away or be in denial. Actually put some action behind it. Because the earlier you can intervene, the better off your child will be. Don't wait till they're 11 years old just to be like, oh, he's different. Don't be in denial or say he's just different when he's hitting himself in the head or stimming back and forth. They're telling you these things. You just may not, be open to it. So just make sure to listen. And try to do the research on your own, and try not to listen to so many other people's point of views, because they're not going to know how your child operates. They're going to say, hey, have you tried this? And that's one of the biggest things that gets on my nerves, because you're a parent too,
Right.
When they say, have you tried? Nope, haven't tried that. Thank you. Obviously we've tried pretty much everything.
Sure.
So when you're giving advice, just make sure that your advice is given in empathy and love, and not a, what's the word I'm looking for? And not a lecture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Early action, early intervention with kindness and loving, and in a place from the heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, folks. Oh, and Phil, so if folks want to maybe reach out to you, maybe they just want to connect because of these shared experiences, they can reach you on the website. Go at medicalmaze.com.
Yeah, so you guys want to reach out to us, you can go to the medicalmazepodcast.com. There's a contact form. Obviously, if you want to be a guest on the show as well, there's a forum for that as well. So if you want to reach me or Don Ellen directly, you can go directly to that. And we'll put some links in the description too. So like Autism Speaks, Nathaniel Hope, those are great websites as well. And depending on your state, obviously things are going to be a little bit different. I know Florida's kind of crappy for that. So your state may be way better than Florida's, but who knows? But just accept the fact that people are going to be different. Kids are going to be different. Yeah. Adults are going to be different. And then just be aware of it too. So really all I got to say.
Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate the insight and the update. So folks, Autism Awareness, Autism Acceptance, please go to those websites and let's just all be better educated and be as kind as we can to those who are dealing with conditions or situations that we may not understand, and because we are fortunate enough to maybe not have experienced it in our lives, but there are those out there who have, and they just need your kindness and support and compassion. So again, April is Autism Awareness / Acceptance Month. We hope that you will go and get some education and maybe reach out to those who need some support.
Yep. We'll catch you guys later.
Thank you.